Alrighty, guys, it is 3:30 this Wednesday, February 12th, and I'm looking at the market, which is pretty darn right back to where we started. So this big scare, the CPI scare this morning, is completely reversed, and they're pretty much just going sideways at this point. Not much directional moves. They managed to get back right back up to value, and there we are. Big gap down this morning, that massive scare, but then they actually clawed this whole thing right back up again. And we talked about it in the last update. It has to do with the underlying components and I guess the adjustments they make in January, which got people looked at it and said, okay, fine, it's actually not as bad as they thought. So back up it went. And so far, we are staying sideways here. So I would start off again, range bound. I don't think we have a momentum to the downside by any means. We don't have really a big lift either. So we kind of right back to that spot where we started, going sideways. I mean, this. Now, the news for tomorrow. Let me see. News for tomorrow, we have a jobless claims and PPI coming out at 8:30 tomorrow morning. So the PPI is going to be another one to pay attention to. Sometimes that get a bigger reaction. The CPI, not usually, but just be aware that there could be a pretty good reaction tomorrow morning as well. And that's about it. A 30-year auction at 1 is what we have now. So we have news at basically at 8:30 tomorrow. We have a NatGas report at 10:30 and a 30-year auction at 1. So far, not much else going on my end. I mean, I took one trade on the ES this morning. I was shaking out of that one. We're back range bound. I was looking to sell strength at this point against the 675s, 85s up to the 95s for rotations back down. And I would be looking at buying against the 69.70, the 60s, the 50s for rotations back up again, maybe down to the 40s as well. Below 40s, I think we're back to that spot where we really have to worry about them taking it a lot lower. Yeah, this morning's reaction goes right down there, and I was right in that support area, but you can see how that gets defended. So they're definitely defending that area, the 20 to 40s, and we've been talking about it. So no surprise there. It's yes, don't know which one is going to hold, but the initial reaction like that just they'll run over edges left and right. But once they settle in after the initial news reaction, you see how support held and how they started running this right back up again. So on the ES, I had one trade, one 250 as I was shaking out of that thing. On the bonds and the NASDAQ, let's start with the bonds real quick. Bond market is absolutely giving us a heartburn. They have not retraced at all. They're right down here at the 113.15s. And this is not a great sign. This is the bond market did not like the news, and they're right back down again. Inflation up, bond prices high, down, yields are up. And that's the whole point. If inflation starts going higher, people are going to expect more returns on their long-term money and their cash flows, and that's why yields are going up. So it's just a matter of inflation, high inflation rates, yields are going to go up to compensate for that. And then it means that bond prices had lower. But you can see that they're not retracing at all. So chances are we're going to retest these lows, maybe take it lower. So I would look to sell strength at this point against that 23 level. Probably against the 16s, so 16 and 23. Rotations back down again, and not be very aggressive. This is a move out of the middle to the downside on the bonds, and just let that sit and see how far they're going to take it before you look for a buying opportunity. Now on the NASDAQ, I managed to get myself caught in a shitty situation on the NASDAQ. You can see that right there. And so you watch this dynamic here. Let me do this so you can see what I'm talking about. So NASDAQ is right back up, same spot as we talked about on the ES. They're right back up to value. They're around the 800, 820s, and they're going sideways. They try to take it up here to the 830s. It got knocked down a little bit, but it's kind of holding right back where we left it. So we're starting off range bound, slight bias. Well, not just range bound. I'm not going to take off any long bias at this point, but starting off range bound, looking to sell the 830s and 880s for rotations back down. Looking to buy against the 750s, 700s, down to the 660s for rotations back up again. Same dynamic, maybe a little bit lower on the 660s, 650s maybe at this point. You have that BCE ledge right there to lean against. So range bound, ES and NASDAQ to get started. The fact that we retrace the whole thing is good, but let's see what happens tomorrow before we get excited about the long side. So I had a one trade here going into it, and I ended up in a really shitty spot. Basically, as they started running it higher, it started this little trend to the downside. So lower highs, lower highs, lower highs. I figured, okay, so they're bouncing up, and it looks to me like we have a shot at retracing it down to the mode. Now we're down at this rotation, so I'm well aware of that. But I was watching this, and usually when you start seeing this, they usually run it a little bit lower, at least to test these lower edges. So I got in on a reasonably aggressive short, and then I had a shot at scratching it up here, but that was about it. And then it started this freaking grind started. I was like, oh shit. So if they take out these rotations, I mean, you're flat out wrong on the trade. So as soon as it took out this rotation, the mode, I figured, okay, let me try to scratch this thing. No shot, man. Look at this fucking thing. I repaired it once at that rotation. I repaired it one more time at the upper level. I had my stop reasonably far outside that level to avoid a little pop. But these guys squeezed me out, and then look at that, they popped it even higher. So this move would have been another. I was in three contracts here. I would have been it would have been another $100 down on that move if if I got stopped out on that one. So at that point, I wasn't going to make the trade bigger than that. So you had this nice area of resistance, and if that came out, I mean, they just flat out wrong. There's just no way to do it. So that was a shitty situation, man. That would cost me $150 in that little move. But then again, you know when you're wrong, and then you try to scratch it, and then if it doesn't, you can't scratch it. Don't let you out. You don't let you out. So the only thing you can do is get out early, but they want to do that. So you still have these resistance areas to lean against. So you try that, and then just then let them stop you out if you're wrong on that. So that was an FU trade is what that was. And then look at it has grind. It's like absolutely no rotation down to get you out of that trade. They just absolutely squeezed it. So I got caught in that one, and then I re-engaged it one more time. Then it started heading lower, one more short, and I have that was a break-even trade, but they just didn't go anywhere. They just stopped me out again for a break-even trade, and so far they're not going. So I'm done. I'm not going to engage it at this point. You try it one more time, because I mean you can't fight that move to the upside. If they're going to run it, sometimes they run it and they just keep freaking running it, and they know they're getting people caught, and it's just no way to save your butt in that one. So we'll see if they run it lower now. That's going to be like, okay, would I, could I, should I? Maybe the luck would have worked out there, but no luck on my part there. So I'm not going to lose more money than that today. So I'm done with that. All right, so that's the Nasdaq. Looking at the oil and gold. On the gold side of things, one probe up here to the 35s, cannot take it out early on, and then they're right back to value. So they're going sideways right now, and I would start range bound on gold, looking to sell strength. The 28s with a bit of caution, definitely against the 34s for rotations back down. Looking to buy against the 17s and the 14s here for rotations back up again. So fairly tight range. If they for some reason are back down here at the 29.05 and take that out, bets are off and we're heading lower. So we'll see. Range band is what I think they're going to be at this point. But watch it. If 34 comes out, we are back on the long side. And if the 14s comes out, we're back on the short side. Definitely below the 29.05. That's when we really it starts getting gnarly again. And on oil, heading lower, drifting down. So they were on the downside, not much buying interest at all. So this little pop here is getting reversed, and we are heading lower, back down to the 70s. So heading lower, I would trade from the short side at this point. I've taken out that edge at the 72.30s. We did that early on, and as they took out support here, I'm just going to stay on the short side of this. I'm going to sell strength against this 71, 75s, against the 72s and the 72.35s for rotations back down again. So lean short on oil, range bound on gold, and that's about it. So back to the ES, and yeah, here we go. A little bit of weakness going into the afternoon. So it's you see the ES didn't quite make it up here, but it had not quite as good of a squeeze on the ES, but Nasdaq, that was freaking relentless, So that sucks. Now if they start retracing back to the mean or going into the close, it'll be as frustrating, but it's not much you can do, Sometimes you get caught in that squeeze. You just have to know when you're going to cut your losses, and then just let it play out, and then that's it. That's the best you can do. And if you just happen to be on the verge, then okay, fine. That's gonna suck, but it's a lot better than making the trade too big and just letting the market totally run you over. So anyway, that's where we are. I'll wrap it there for now. And so we have double claims and PPI at 8:30 tomorrow morning, and then we'll go at this again. Alrighty, guys. I'll see you back in the morning. You have a good evening. Later.